Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen Delaney, and this is my NanoWriMo wrap-up video. So first things first, I did finish Nano a few days ago. It's the week of Thanksgiving here in the United States, and it's been a very crazy and busy week, and I'm filming in a really weird place in my house right now because all my kids are home. They're all cranky and tired and ate too much food last night, and will probably start crying at some point during this video, but I will try to edit it out. So I'm in a weird corner with weird lighting. But let's start by saying I finished Nano, yay! To go over just like the statistics of my NanoWriMo this year, I finished on November 20th with 50,007 words. I did end up writing a little bit more. My final word count was 51,527, and then I did stop writing. Sometimes it's hard to just like stop at 50,000 words and you just want to get a little bit more out, which is what I did. The most words I wrote of any days was on November 3rd. I wrote 3,563 words that day, which was the most I wrote of any days. And the least words I wrote was on November 14th, and it was 1,318. And that was the day of my twins' birthday party, not their birthday. So I am not surprised I wrote the least amount of words that day because it was a really busy day. But I still got over 1,000 words down, which was pretty good. When I look back at when I first did Nano the first few years and when I didn't actually finish it, there were a lot of days where I just thought to myself, oh, I'll just write 500 words today. I'm really not feeling it. And that's really not a way to finish Nano because then you're giving yourself basically days when you're going to have to write like 5,000 words, which as you can see from mine, I can't do that. I can write over 3,000 words in a day, but it's really difficult for me to hit like 5,000 to 10,000 words in a day. I know there are some people who will take like a weekend day when they're not working and try to write 10,000 words in a day, and I just don't have that sort of life. I also found that I usually wrote in the morning, and I think this is the first year that I usually wrote in the morning because I am trying to be more mindful about winding down before bed to help with my insomnia, and because my kids we're all at school Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 11:30, so that was a good time for me to be writing. And that's usually when I film my YouTube videos, and as you can tell, if you look at the month of November, I really didn't post that much. So what did I end up writing during Nano? I did stick with my original project, which was a paranormal romance about a witch, and it is a book that is adjacent to the series that I have a contract for with City Owl Publishing. It's basically like a spin-off idea I've had for a while, and I really wanted to write it because it takes place in October and November in Maine, and I thought it'd be really easy to write like a fall vibes story in November. But that only ended up being 44,000 words, so I was 6,000 words short, and I realized this around the 30,000 word mark that I didn't think I was actually going to be able to hit 50,000 words, and I started thinking about what I was going to do. So I ended up writing the first 6,000 words of a werewolf short romance. In October, I had written a short werewolf romance, and when I wrote it, I kind of decided that I might do a collection of them and then just indie release them maybe next summer. So I wrote about the first, those aren't that long, so it was about the first third of the second one, and it's fine. The hard thing with that one is I didn't like go in with any outline or really like any idea what this book's going to be about, but I did manage to write 6,000 words. And you know what? Even if I don't end up using them, I did like figure out all the characters' names and settings and stuff like that, which is helpful for second drafts. I do think I made a lot of mistakes this NanoWriMo, and I will tell you about them right now. So my first mistake is that the main reason why I didn't actually hit 50,000 words on my witch romance, and that is when I was outlining, and I talked about this, that I'm really a planner, and I did do a very thorough outline of this story, but I did not outline a B-plot for the hero. So basically, when you're writing a romance, especially when it's dual POV, which almost all mine are, you need other stuff going on in both main characters' lives, or else all they have is the romance. And I suppose that could work if I don't know even if that could work. I'm trying to think if I've ever read a book in which there was no secondary stuff going on. And I don't think there is, because you need to have a well-rounded character. So I had the heroine's life really mapped out, and her family and stuff that's going on with her at work, other relationships she has with other people, which were a big part of her B plot. And I didn't really make a B plot for the hero, and that showed, because honestly, if the hero had a B plot, I would have probably hit 50,000 words, because that's like a pretty 6,000 words in a 50,000 word story is a pretty big chunk of a plot. So that's my biggest mistake. My second mistake is kind of a weird one. I should have done more research on restoring Victorian homes because that is part of the story, is that there is an old Victorian house being restored, and I didn't do any research about it other than the fact that, like, I love looking at Victorian houses, but I don't know anything about restoring them. And so there were a couple times in which, instead of just putting, which I will do this sometimes when I'm writing quickly, add this later, and like all caps in parentheses, I did like take a break and do a little bit of Googling about things like fireplace tiles, or like how long does it take when you order cabinets for them to get there? Because we've never redone our house, so I have no idea like the timeline of this stuff to make it work. So that was a small mistake, and it didn't end up costing me like that much time, but just reflecting back, I probably should have done a chunk of research on that before Nano started. My third mistake wasn't really one I could help, and that was that around halfway through, around like November 10th, I started getting really invested in the book I'm going to work on in 2022. And I'm going to do a series of videos about this book, about writing this book, because it's going to be written very differently than anything I've written before. It needs a ton of research, and I'm a librarian, so I will do some videos about how to research this type of book. But sometimes when your soul starts to wander to a different project, and this is very normal, usually this happens when you're writing, you start thinking about what you're going to write next. It's just how writers' brains work. But that was a little difficult for Nano, because usually when I'm writing a regular book, not during Nano, and it's going to take me like 2.5 months to write whatever, like 65,000 words or however long the first draft ends up being, I can take like 3 days and let my brain work on the next project, either to like do a tiny bit of research or a little bit of outlining or deciding character names or whatever, and it sort of like satisfies my brain enough that I can refocus on the project I'm supposed to be working on. You can't really do that during Nano. Like, I guess I could have, because I did finish on November 20th, but as I mentioned in my other Nano videos, I really don't like still working on Nano after Thanksgiving. Like, that's kind of like Nano for me has to end before Thanksgiving, because like from here on out, life is a little nuts. I mean, it was nuts this whole week, hence why you're going to get a video on Saturday, I hope, rather than on Friday. So I could have taken, 3 days in the middle of November to do a bit of research to sort of satisfy, like take the edge off my brain's interest in the next project, but I decided not to, because I didn't really want to like stall my Nano progress. It's also difficult when you are working on a project like Nano, where you're like furiously writing. I find that if you take a day off, or you have a day in which you don't write as much as you have been, it's very difficult to go back to that. So at the beginning of Nano, I was writing like around 3,000 words every day for probably the first week-ish. And then the second week I was more in the twos, but then I did have that low day on the 14th in which I wrote just over 1,300 words. And the next few days, it was difficult to power through. And I was like forcing myself to get over 2,000, which you only need 1,667 words a day to finish, but then you have to write every single day. And I really don't like hitting under 2,000 words in a day, because I like to finish early. And it was hard after having a couple low days around my twin's birthday to like get my word count back up there. And I never hit 3,000 words again after the first week. I did some high 2,000s, like 1 or 2 days, but it just wasn't happening anymore. I had kind of burnt out by that point. So Nano, it went fine. When I'm looking back at the project that I wrote, I'm sure it's fine. It's hard because there are times when you're writing and you're like, this isn't beautifully written. Like, you're kind of just getting words on a page. I feel like Nano is something that is fun to do, but it's not that helpful if you're a serious writer. Now, I will say, if I were currently working as a full-time writer and I had my kids in full-time school and I had 7 hours a day in which I was writing, I don't think Nano would be that hard, because then when it's your full-time career and you're not working on anything else, you can write 50,000 words probably in a normal month, I would assume, especially when you're working on a project you're excited about. As someone who writes more on a part-time basis, since I do have small children, one of who is trying to come in right now. Okay, I have to hurry up because my kids are now not happy. As I was saying, I write on a part-time basis, so I am really just like stealing hours here and there to write my books, and I find that Nano isn't the most successful way for me to write. I'm going to have a fun time editing this stuff. We'll see how it goes. Probably not great, but I got it done. And there are certain things that I'm happy that I got completed. I also think that Nano's a good time sort of to just like explore your characters and figure out what they like. I mean, there's so many scenes we write about our characters that don't end up in the books that are really just for your own brain to figure out what your character is like in these situations, and that might never see the light of day in terms of a published book. For an example, in the book I was currently working on, I wrote a lot of scenes where the two main characters are just like talking at the beach, and I don't know how many of them I'll keep some of them definitely, because that is like a main part of their relationship, is how much they both love the water. But we probably don't need like 5, which I think there are 5 scenes of them on the beach having conversations. But that was good for me to stretch and learn about what their relationship is going to look like. Especially when you're writing a series, I feel like it's, really important for you to treat every romantic relationship in the series differently. So I want to make sure that this relationship doesn't look anything like the relationship in the first book that's coming out in 2024, or the second book, or the third book. And so you just need to get to know your characters a little bit more, and like the insecurities that they might have about entering a romantic relationship, or just, their baggage. Everyone has baggage, no matter how perfect they are. Did you guys do Nano? Are you done yet? Are you still working? I hope if you are still working towards your word count, you are getting there. What is today? The 26th, I think. So you got 4 more days, including today, but I think this is coming out tomorrow. So you just got a handful of days left. Try to muscle through and get those words done, because it is really satisfying, especially the first time you finish. The first time I finished Nano, I was so excited because it was a big deal. It was kind of also like an I can do it thing. Like, I set out to do this and I did it, and now it's done. Now that I finished it again, it feels good. I'm really happy to be on my writing break, and I am just getting sort of my materials organized for my next project. And I'll talk more about that in December, but a lot more about it in January and February when I'm actually diving into my research. I hope you are having a cozy day. I have on a shawl and a cardigan to stay nice and warm. I hope you are in the middle of a good book, or about to start a good book, or about to start writing a great book. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.